The glass still had her lipstick on it. I don't know why I didn't throw it away. Maybe I thought if I left it there, she'd come back. Like people do with shoes on power lines or love locks on bridges. Some desperate hope carved into an object. But no, I stared at that wine glass for 36 hours. And she never came back. She didn't even text. Let me rewind. No, not to the beginning. To the moment. The moment. Saturday, 6:14 p.m. Halbert Hotel. VIP lounge. 2 people enter. Only one stops breathing. I was already there. Not spying. Not snooping. Just sitting. Thinking. Wondering whether the napkin I found in her coat pocket last week meant anything. Maybe it was just a lunch meeting. Maybe I'm just broken in the head. I almost talked myself out of all of it. And then they walked in. Her, in that navy blazer she told me didn't fit anymore. Him, with that ease men have when they think no one in the room can touch them. I didn't move. I couldn't. She saw me. She saw me. And she froze like her blood turned to glass. One step into the lounge, and it was like gravity hit her different. The man beside her looked at her, then followed her gaze. And when he saw me, he didn't look confused. He looked inconvenienced. She whispered something to him. I couldn't hear, but I saw the way his mouth curled. Not fear. Not regret. Something worse. Confidence. Like I was the one out of place. She started toward me. I remember how tightly she clutched her bag. Like it might protect her from what was coming. Like I might scream. Or cry. Or cause a scene. I did none of those things. I just asked one question. Quiet. Soft. So quiet the clink of her heels almost drowned it out. Please tell me that wasn't you. And I'll never forget what she said. Not I'm sorry. Not let me explain. Not even it's not what it looks like. She said, you weren't supposed to be here. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This was a routine. And I was the fool who showed up on the wrong night. And caught the truth. Her voice cracked, just a little, like her throat forgot how to lie mid-sentence. You weren't supposed to be here. Those words didn't just land. They imploded. Quietly, like a soft tire leak. You don't notice the damage until the entire thing's flat. My heart didn't even react the way I thought it would. No angry spikes, no fight or flight. It just stalled, like an old engine in the cold. She sat down across from me like we were meeting for coffee. Like I hadn't just seen her waltz into a hotel lounge with a stranger like they belonged to each other. She reached for the glass I'd been holding. The one with her lipstick mark from the last time she was here, 2 weeks ago. Except now I realized, she hadn't been here with me that time. I'd never been to this hotel before. That glass wasn't mine. It was his. She looked me in the eye, steady now. Calmer than me. Ellis, please don't make a scene. God. That line. The way she said it like I was the threat. Like the bomb in the room had my name etched into the casing and not hers. Meanwhile, the guy, the man she came in with, he'd moved to the bar. Didn't even leave. Just ordered a drink like this was all part of some script he'd watched play out before. I opened my mouth to ask something. Anything. But I had too many questions, and my throat was doing that stupid tight thing again. So I did what I always do. I laughed. A dry, ugly laugh that didn't sound human. It was either that or cry. How long? I asked finally. I hated how weak it sounded. Sylvain didn't flinch. Don't do this here. No. We're doing it now. Since we're already both here by accident. Or was it my accident and your plan? She looked down at her lap, like she was praying to her cuticles for strength. And then she said it, just above a whisper. 3 months. 3 months. 12 weeks. 90 days of telling me she had evening yoga, book clubs, office happy hours. I thought she was just reclaiming her independence. I was proud of her. I made dinner while she was out, bought her bath salts and tea lights, and said things like, go unwind. You deserve it. And all that time, she was here. With him. I looked over at the bar. He had his back to us now. Stirring his drink like he was waiting for a lift. Not watching a marriage combust 20 feet away. I leaned in, whispered just loud enough for her to hear. Does he know you're married? That's when her eyes changed. Something in them darkened, or maybe it just stopped pretending. And she said, he knows, more than you do. What the hell does that even mean? I almost stood up. Almost knocked the table over, not because I wanted to cause a scene, but because I needed something to break. Something besides me. But I didn't. Instead, I asked the one thing I probably shouldn't have. The one thing everyone online says never to ask. But I'm not built like those people. I'm a mess. Do you love him? She didn't answer right away. That made it worse. If she had said no, I could have called it a mistake. If she said yes, I could have hated her cleanly. But the silence? That was surgical. It carved out something in me I don't think I'll ever get back. Finally, she looked up and said, I didn't come here tonight to fall in love, Ellis. I just didn't want to feel like a ghost anymore. And that's when I realized I hadn't just lost her. I'd lost her a long time ago. Tonight, I had only caught the shadow of her leaving. I sat there long after she left the table, after she and the man walked out, after the waitress came over and asked if I was okay, and I nodded like an idiot because I didn't know how to say, I just watched the last 5 years of my life walk out the door in heels I paid for. And the worst part? I still don't know where she went. But something tells me this wasn't goodbye. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. Not because I didn't want to see her, though I didn't, but because I physically couldn't make myself walk into the house where our wedding photo hung like a joke above the fireplace. The idea of stepping into our kitchen and seeing her mug next to mine, like her mouth hadn't just whispered confessions that cracked me in half, it made my stomach churn. So I stayed in my car. I parked in a Walgreens lot off Lincoln and just sat there, staring at the fluorescent sign buzzing like a bad memory. I didn't cry. Not really. I just felt numb. My chest was heavy but hollow, like something important had been scooped out and replaced with wet cement. My brain kept replaying her voice. He knows more than you do. What the hell was that supposed to mean? It was cruel, wasn't it? Not just the betrayal, but the cryptic parting shot. A puzzle piece with no puzzle. It stuck in my head like a splinter. I didn't sleep that night. Just watched the sun rise behind a row of air conditioners and regretted everything I ever believed about love being patient. When I finally drove home the next morning, her car was gone. The front porch light was still on, which was weird. She always turned it off. Our dog, Juno, didn't bark when I opened the door. She just looked up from her bed with those big, confused eyes like she had questions too. I pet her once, then walked upstairs. The bedroom smelled like her shampoo. The bed was perfectly made. Too perfectly. I opened the nightstand drawer on her side. It was organized. Sunglasses, receipts, a backup charger. All neat, all untouched. But wedged in the corner, barely sticking out from beneath a pack of gum, was something that didn't belong. A hotel keycard. Not from the Halberd Hotel. I recognized that logo by now. Embossed gold leaves and pretentious font. This one was plain. No name. Just a room number written in faded black ink on a small sticker, 714. My hands started sweating. I'm not a detective. I've never even cheated on a math test. But something in me kicked up like a survival instinct. I pulled out my phone and Googled local hotels near Halberd. Half a dozen popped up. Only one of them, Delmere Suites, had 7 floors. The website looked cheap. The kind of place you don't ask for a receipt from. No valet. No marble. Something in my gut dropped. I should have stopped there. Should have left it alone. But of course I didn't. I changed my shirt, grabbed my keys, and drove across town like I wasn't already past the point of no return. The Delmere Suites looked like a place that came with regrets. The parking lot was half empty. The neon sign buzzed even in daylight. I walked up to the front desk and smiled the way guilty people smile when they're trying to look normal. The girl behind the counter was barely 20. Nose ring, chipped nails. She didn't look up from her phone. Can I help you? I took a deep breath. This might sound weird, I said, but I think my wife might have left something in one of your rooms. 714. Could I check? She narrowed her eyes. You got ID? I showed her my license. She looked at it, then at me. Name's not on the reservation, she said. I smiled again. Sweaty. Stupid. Can you just tell me if someone named Sylvain Drebin checked in this week? She paused. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard like she was deciding whether to break a rule. No one under that name, she said finally. Sorry. I thanked her and turned away. But as I reached the door, I heard her mutter something under her breath. Unless she used the other one. I stopped. Slowly turned. What? She blinked. Realized she said it out loud. Nothing. Sorry. Thought I recognized the name. My bad. But it was too late. My head was spinning. The other one. What other name? And just like that, it hit me. She had an alias. A second name. A second life. I walked out of that hotel not knowing what scared me more. That she had lied to me about everything, or that I might never figure out just how deep the lie went. And in my pocket, that anonymous key card burned like a warning I wasn't ready to understand. It took me until 9:47 p.m. to decide to go back. I spent most of the day sitting on the edge of my bed, holding that anonymous hotel keycard like it was a detonator I didn't know how to disable. I kept flipping it in my hands, over and over, as if maybe the back would suddenly say, "Just kidding." She was only cheating a little. But all it said was room 714, in faint smudged ink that looked like it had been written by someone trying not to leave evidence. By nightfall, I had convinced myself of two things. If I didn't go, I'd regret it forever. If I did go, I might never sleep again. But I went anyway. I wore a hoodie, like some cartoon burglar, as if the hotel had facial recognition or bouncers ready to pounce if I looked suspicious. The parking lot at Delmere Suites was nearly empty again, just a pickup truck idling with a guy eating takeout, and a rusted-out Camry that looked like it hadn't moved in days. The lobby was dim and smelled like microwave noodles. No one was at the desk. I didn't wait. I slipped into the elevator, jammed the button for 7, and held my breath. The lights inside flickered like a dying conscience. As the elevator climbed, I started to think about what I might find. Her phone? Photos? Lingerie? Him? What if he was there? What if she was? The elevator dinged, and the doors slid open like a curtain at a bad play. The hallway was quiet. Room 714 was 2 doors down, on the left. I stood in front of it for a full minute, holding the keycard in my sweaty hand, hearing my pulse in my ears. Then I slid the card in. Green light. Soft click. The door opened. It wasn't what I expected. I don't know what I expected, honestly. Passion-scented chaos? Rose petals and betrayal? What I found was stillness. The room was empty. Tidy. Made up. No suitcases, no evidence of guests. Just that overly sanitized hotel smell. Chemical lemons, overused linen spray, with something faint underneath. Something sour. Like food left out too long, or wet clothes forgotten in a bag. I stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind me. There was something about the silence that felt wrong. Not peaceful. Suspicious. Like the room had been wiped clean. Erased. But you can't scrub out everything. Not really. People leave fingerprints, footprints, stories. And I was here to find them. I started at the nightstand. Nothing in the drawers except a Bible, half-bent, with a folded receipt used as a bookmark. I opened it. It was from 8 days ago, signed with the initials DR. Room service. 2 entrees. 1 bottle of wine. 1 Diet Cola. 2 people. I moved to the closet next. Empty. Then the bathroom. Also empty, until I opened the cabinet under the sink. There, tucked behind a stack of paper towels, was a burner phone. Black. No brand. No lock screen. Battery at 16%. I didn't even hesitate. I opened the call log. There were only 3 numbers. One of them was hers. Not Sylvain Drebin. Not even wife. Just a name I'd never seen before. Clara. My heart thudded so hard I could barely hear. I clicked on the name. The last call had been made 2 days ago, for 7 minutes. Before the halberd. Before she saw me in that lounge. Before everything detonated. She had a different name. She had a different phone. She had a different life. I sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the screen, trying to breathe. I felt like the floor was tilting underneath me. That rotting lemon smell was stronger now. I looked around, sniffing. The trash can was empty. I lifted the bed skirt. And that's when I saw it. A small black duffel bag, shoved all the way to the back wall, just barely visible. I yanked it out. It was heavier than it looked. I opened it. Inside were clothes, men's clothes. Jeans. 2 shirts. A bottle of cologne. A charger. A hotel invoice with no name. Just the words paid in cash. And at the bottom, a silver ring. Men's wedding band. Engraved inside. For C always. R. I dropped it like it bit me. What was this? Whose ring was that? And why did Sylvain, or Clara, or whoever the hell she really was, have access to a room with another man's bag, another man's phone, and a ring engraved to someone who wasn't me? My breath caught in my throat. I backed away from the bed like it might reach out and grab me. I suddenly felt watched. Like there were eyes in the walls, laughing at me. I stumbled out of that room and didn't look back. But even as the door clicked shut behind me, I knew. I hadn't discovered the bottom of anything. I had just opened a trapdoor. I didn't go home after Delmere. I couldn't. Instead, I drove aimlessly for over an hour, looping roads I've never driven on, and ending up parked in a 24-hour diner lot watching drunk strangers stagger in and out with pancakes and secrets. My hands were still shaking. The duffel bag, the ring, the burner phone, the name Clara. None of it made sense. I was no longer the pathetic husband who caught his wife cheating. I was something worse now, a bystander in someone else's thriller. A secondary character in a story I didn't know I was in. But I couldn't sit there forever. So I made one of the stupidest decisions of my life. I called the number. The one labeled Clara. It rang twice. Then a voice answered. Not hers. A man. Smooth voice. Confident. You're not supposed to call this number. I froze. Who is this? A pause. Then, you don't want to be involved in this, Ellis. My entire body turned to ice. He knew my name. I hadn't said it. I hadn't spoken a word besides that question. Who are you? I asked again, more desperate this time. The line went dead. That was the moment I realized I'd wandered into something I didn't understand. Not a love triangle. Not some dramatic affair. Something structured. Something with rules. The kind you don't break unless you want trouble. The next morning, I took the phone and the hotel receipt to a friend of mine from college, Tucker, a cybersecurity analyst who owed me a favor after I talked him out of reporting his boss for a workplace affair. Ironic, I know. I told him I found the phone and wanted to know if anything could be pulled from it. Messages, deleted numbers, GPS. He didn't ask questions. Just took the phone, glanced at the model, and said he'd see what he could do. Later that day, he called me. Ellis, he said, his voice lower than usual. Where did you get this thing? Don't worry about it. I replied. What did you find? There was a long pause. Then, the number labeled Clara? That's a VoIP. Routes through a relay server based in Quebec. Whoever set this up knows what they're doing. It's not just a secret phone, it's layered. Encrypted SMS. Auto-wipe settings. This thing isn't for cheating. It's for not getting caught, period. I didn't speak. He kept going. But here's the weird part. There's a contact stored under initials, just DR. That's where most of the call activity is. Guess what? The GPS logs show that every time DR was called, the phone was within 500 feet of an address. In Shreveport. A business park. Office suite. Whose office? I don't know yet. But Ellis, whoever Sylvain's talking to, they're not random. And they're not just seeing her. They're organizing something. It felt like my ribs collapsed inward. This wasn't just some fantasy fling with a charming man in a blazer. There were phones that couldn't be traced. Calls that synced with office buildings. Fake names. Hidden rooms. The ring. I suddenly thought of something and asked him, can you search for engravings? Like custom ring engravings? Sure, if it's been ordered online or through any public vendor. Why? What's it say? For C, always, R. Another pause. Text it to me. I'll run a few databases. I did. And then I hung up and stared at my reflection in the diner window like it might give me answers. But all I saw was a man unraveling, thread by thread. Back at home, I opened our filing cabinet for the first time in years. It still had everything, mortgage docs, tax files, a drawer full of warranties we never used. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. But then I found it. Tucked into a folder labeled medical. SD was an envelope. No return address. Inside, a typed confirmation from a clinic in Baton Rouge. A check-in form from 3 months ago. But not under Sylvain Drebin. Under Clara Rains. My mouth went dry. I looked at the DOB. The emergency contact was blank. The reason for the visit was vague. Just consultation. But she'd signed it. Not her real name. Not even her real handwriting. She'd changed it. Tilted the letters. Added loops. She hadn't just created an alias. She'd been living it. How long? How far back did this go? What was she consulting about? Who was R? What was behind the ring? The phone? The office? And why did I suddenly feel like I wasn't married to a person anymore, but to a code name? That night, I pulled every photo I had of her from our albums and started comparing her expressions. In some, she looked natural, real. But in others, now that I was looking, her smile was too full. Her eyes never matched it. And sometimes, in the background, her phone would be upside down on silent, screen down. Always screen down. Like she didn't want to be interrupted. Or discovered. And I couldn't shake this thought. What if I wasn't just the side story? What if I was the cover? The mind plays tricks when it's been wounded. It fills in blanks with worst-case scenarios, stretches silence into suspicion, and makes shadows look like threats. That's what I kept telling myself every time I felt like I was being followed. It started 2 days after I found the clinic file. I'd begun checking over my shoulder without meaning to, at red lights, inside gas stations, even in the grocery store. I'd feel a glance linger 1 second too long. A car parked across the street too many hours in a row. Maybe I was spiraling. Maybe I was right too. I hadn't seen Sylvain since the night at the Halberd. Not a call. Not a message. No toothbrush in the holder. No clothes in the closet. She was gone. Not missing, intentionally gone. And still, she hadn't filed anything. No separation. No divorce papers. Just an empty presence that used to fill the house with the sound of kettle whistles and humming to the radio while she folded laundry. She didn't even take the dog. That, somehow, broke me more than anything else. Tucker texted me that same night. Said he had something. A match. He sent me a link to a business registry. One of those public government databases with the personality of cold oatmeal. A shell company. Listed as Riverstone Development Partners, based in Shreveport. Guess who filed the articles of incorporation? A man named Rowan Callan. Initials, RC. The same initials from the ring. I Googled him. No social media. No LinkedIn. Just one blurry photo from a business luncheon 6 years ago. He looked generic in that dangerous kind of way. Expensive suit, polite smile, eyes that didn't belong to the rest of the face. Like he was wearing someone else's expression. The deeper I dug, the weirder it got. Riverstone had no real footprint. No website. No employees listed. Just a P.O. box and some ambiguous government contract filings about consulting services and field operations. All very sterile. All very off. I called Tucker. Can you track financials? Already tried, he said. Everything's firewalled or paid through proxies. They're laundering something. Or hiding it. Maybe both. And my wife. He interrupted me. Your wife had an alias that links to a burner phone with a contact tied to this guy. The same guy who's laundering funds through a building she's been to multiple times. This isn't cheating, Ellis. This is something else. I didn't want to hear it, but I already knew it. This wasn't about love. It was about access. To me. To our house. My identity. Our life. I was starting to think the affair was just the surface. A side effect. What if our marriage had never been real? That night, I opened every drawer in our house. I checked under the floorboards, in the attic, behind every photo frame. I found 2 burner SIM cards in an old candle box. One had been snapped in half. The other was clean and used. Why keep an unused SIM card unless you were planning to leave, but not vanish? That's when I remembered something else. 2 years ago, Sylvain had insisted we file joint taxes using a private CPA she trusted. Some guy named Corbin, she said, worked independently to avoid IRS errors. I'd never spoken to him directly. She handled all our paperwork that year. Said he was fast and didn't ask a lot of questions. I dug up our 2023 return. The signature on the bottom line wasn't hers. It was mine, except I never signed it. She'd forged my signature. Twice. I felt cold all over. It wasn't a clean, dramatic kind of panic, more like slow poison. I could hear my own breath getting faster, but I couldn't move. Not right away. I sat on the floor for hours thinking about every time she made me wait in the car while she picked up packages. Every time she handled the bills. Every form I let her fill out because I was bad with paperwork. She wasn't just hiding an affair. She'd been managing a second identity in parallel to mine, using me as cover. I wasn't just the dumb husband who didn't see the signs. I was her alibi. It got worse. I logged into our bank account and opened the statement archives. The last 3 months showed small transfers I hadn't noticed before. $300 here, $500 there. Moved from our joint account into a secondary account titled Ellis Drebin Business Savings. I never opened that account. She did. She'd faked an LLC under my name. I looked it up. Filed with the state. Listed address. A mailbox rental storefront. She was laundering something through me. My phone buzzed. Tucker again. One message. Found something else. You're not going to like it. I called him immediately. There's a federal contract under Riverstone's shell, he said. Subcontracted for field operations. Details redacted. But the payment account listed your SSN as a tax ID. Yours. Not Rowan Callan's. Yours. He paused. Ellis, this goes way beyond betrayal. And that's when it clicked. Sylvain didn't leave because she was ashamed. She left because she was done using me. I thought I'd walked in on a woman cheating on her husband. But what I really walked in on was a handoff. Whatever I was being used for, it was complete. And now I was a loose end. The first time I knew something serious was happening. beyond lies, beyond infidelity, beyond the scope of what any normal person could prepare for, was when my debit card declined at the gas station. I laughed at first, like maybe I'd entered the wrong PIN. Tried again. Declined. I checked my account on my phone and saw something that made my stomach twist into a fist. The balance was zero. Not overdraft. Zero. Every cent drained. Not stolen. Transferred. To that same business account I never opened. The one Sylvain set up using my name and fake LLC paperwork. I called the bank. They told me I'd need to come in and verify my identity because there had been a change in ownership status. The words didn't even make sense. What ownership? I asked. It's my name, my social, my account. But they just kept repeating it like a script. Sir, you'll need to come in and bring 2 forms of ID and any documentation for your LLC. My fake LLC. I hung up the phone and sat in my car, parked outside a CVS, realizing I had exactly $14 in my pocket and a gas tank that would get me maybe 40 miles. I still had my credit card, but something in my gut told me that wasn't going to last much longer either. I drove straight to Tucker's apartment. He opened the door wearing sweatpants and a scowl. I was about to call you, he said before I even stepped inside. There's movement. What kind? The scary kind. He pulled up his laptop and showed me a flagged alert, some tool he'd set up to track activity linked to my SSN. Someone just tried to pull your credit report from 3 different agencies in under 10 minutes. That's not normal unless you're applying for a mortgage or being investigated. Investigated? I repeated, and the word stuck in my throat. He nodded slowly. Ellis, you need to listen to me very carefully. I think Sylvain, or Clara, or whatever her name is, didn't just use you. I think she framed you. I don't know for what yet, but something's happening. Quietly. And efficiently. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a text. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize. Ellis, do not talk to anyone else. You're already in deeper than you understand. I showed Tucker. He stared at it, jaw tight. That number's VoIP again. Probably bounced through multiple servers. They're watching you. Who's they? I don't know yet, he said. But I know what you need to do. First, stop using your phone. If they've cloned it, they know where you are. Second, you need to secure your actual ID, birth certificate, passport, everything. And third, he hesitated. What? You need to prepare to disappear. I laughed. I don't know why. Some nervous reflex, like my brain was trying to reject reality through sheer force. Disappear? I'm not in a spy movie, Tucker. He didn't laugh back. I'm serious, man. I don't think she ran from you. I think she finished whatever she needed you for and walked away right before it burns down. I think you were the fall guy. He wasn't wrong. I could feel it. Somewhere in my bones. The forged tax forms. The fake company. The offshore-style phone. The accounts. The clinic. The alias. The timing. It all felt deliberate. It wasn't an affair. It wasn't even personal. It was operational. And the most horrifying part? She had been training me for it. Every time she filled out forms for me. Every time she insisted I sign blank checks. Every time she nudged me to forget passwords or asked for access to double-check something. Every little encouragement to let her take care of things. The constant reassurance that she's just better at handling paperwork. It wasn't laziness. It was conditioning. Tucker let me crash on his couch that night. I didn't sleep much. I just stared at the ceiling and tried to piece together how long this had been going on. Had she picked me because I was naive? Was she working alone? Was Rowan, even her partner, or just another pawn? Had I been a pawn? By 6 a.m., I had my answer. The police knocked on my door. Not Tucker's, mine. A neighbor texted me. Said there were 2 cruisers parked outside my house. Officers walked up to the porch, looked through the windows, knocked again. Then they left. No warrant. No call. Just presence. Like a warning. I called the police department pretending to be checking in on a neighborhood incident. The woman on the phone said there was nothing officially logged. Just an officer inquiry related to an identity discrepancy. That was the phrase. Identity discrepancy. Like I was a glitch. Like I was no longer me. I looked at Tucker. They're coming. He nodded. Not for her. For you. That day, I took everything I had left, my passport, my birth certificate, $800 in emergency savings hidden in the back of a drawer, and Juno, our dog, and I left town. No note. No social media goodbye. No trail. I didn't even bring my phone. As I drove across the state line, past the "Thank you for visiting Louisiana" sign, I glanced in the mirror and finally saw it. What had always been true. I was no longer looking for my wife. I was running for my life. 6 weeks. That's how long I was off the grid. I left Louisiana with nothing but my ID, my dog, a borrowed laptop, and a backpack of clothes that smelled like the life I used to live. I slept in 2-star motels, paid in cash, changed rooms every 3 days. Tucker was my only contact, and even then, only through a VPN-based chat server he swore was untouchable. I trusted him with the little trust one had left. I watched from the outside as my life evaporated. Bank accounts frozen. A notice from the IRS about financial inconsistencies under investigation. My name appeared on a digital watch list for identity fraud connected to a corporate laundering case currently under review. No public charges yet, just whispers and systems. But I knew what it meant. They were preparing to bury me. And she, Sylvain, Clara, whoever she really was, she had vanished like vapor. No hits on facial recognition. No digital breadcrumbs. Not even Tucker could find her. He tried. Even used some backdoor contacts in private InfoSec groups. But it was like she'd never existed. Or like she'd done this before. But here's where the story changes. Not because I caught her. Not because justice knocked on her door with sirens and warrants. But because I stopped chasing her. And I started rebuilding me. It happened slowly. Somewhere in Tennessee, I picked up work fixing printers in a strip mall for under-the-table cash. The guy who hired me didn't ask questions. Said I looked like I needed something to do more than money. And he was right. I just needed to feel real again. Like I wasn't a ghost in someone else's story. I got a burner phone. Just for Tucker. No social media. No apps. I stopped trying to prove I was innocent and started proving I was alive. That I still existed outside the wreckage she left. 2 months in, Tucker messaged me. Call me. Good news. He'd been watching the Riverstone Shell Company. Following money as best he could. Rowan Callan's accounts were just closed. He's gone dark. But there's chatter on encrypted boards. Someone flagged the company in a larger sweep connected to a fraud network that spans 5 states. Looks like whoever was backing them dropped everything. It's imploding. And here's the beautiful part. My name never showed up. The LLC Sylvain filed was scrubbed from the database. Somehow, maybe through Rowan, maybe by design, my paper trail as a business partner was erased just before Federalized landed. My signature on those documents? Useless without verification. The accounts? Frozen before real damage could be done. Tucker said it best. They erased you to protect themselves. It stung. That I'd been used. That I was disposable. But it also meant I was free. No charges. No lawsuits. No agents at my door. Just silence. And in that silence, something bloomed. I stayed off-grid for another 6 months. Got a tiny rental cabin near the Smokies. Picked up odd jobs. Fixed things. Built furniture. Wrote in a journal like it mattered. Juno, my dog, my anchor, would sit at the foot of the porch every morning and wait for the sun like she knew it was showing up just for her. One morning, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a photograph. Her, Sylvain, standing in front of a glass building in what looked like Madrid. Different haircut. Different clothes. But the same eyes. On the back of the photo, in small handwriting. You were always the kindest part of the plan. I read it once. Burned it. That was the last time I thought of her with anger. She took from me time, trust, identity. But she also gave me something I never would have found otherwise, truth. And the truth was this. I was never meant to live the life I had before. Not because I wasn't good enough, but because I had settled for a version of love that asked me to shrink, to submit, to sign things I didn't read because I was too afraid to speak. Now I build things with my hands. Now I know where every dollar comes from. Now I drink my coffee on the porch with a dog who didn't abandon me, and I sleep at night without wondering if the person beside me is wearing a mask. I still don't know who she really was, but I finally know who I am. Not a victim, not a ghost, not a loose end. I'm Ellis. I survived her. I survived me, and that's enough.